Get ready to amplify your light and shine bright because it's about to get real. Join Spencer Jones, the Prince of Positivity, and get energized with this episode of the Jonesin Show. Let's go!
Hey, Energizer. Welcome to this episode of the Jonesin Show. I am super excited to have you here and meet our guest for today. I got to meet him just a couple weeks ago when he was speaking at a local chamber event about social media and how we can really utilize that to our best needs and to share our message, our personal brand. I mean, you know me, the Prince of Positivity, right? I'm here to share my brand out and hopefully ignite your light, but you have your brand, you have your light that people see, whether it's on social media or in person. And I'm really excited for you to meet our guest and hear about all the crazy, amazing things he's doing. And hopefully you can take some of the nuggets of wisdom he's, I'm sure, going to drop with us and help you shine your light even brighter. So with that, without further ado, please help me welcome our amazing guest, Chris Burns. Chris, thank you for being here.
What's up, Spencer? Good to see you again.
Oh my gosh, buddy, it's so good to see you too. It was such an amazing talk a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't wait to hop on a call and chat with you again. So I got to know you a little bit through that presentation, then we chatted afterwards, but our Energizer family doesn't know you. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, tell them about who you are, what you all do, and what brought you to talking about your social media imprint and, fingerprint. That's what I was looking for, the word fingerprint.
Yeah, you got it. Imprint, fingerprint, same thing. I hate talking about myself, but I'll give you a brief intro and then you can pull out whatever stories you want because you know a little bit about me now. I'm an entrepreneur. I guess some people would call me a serial entrepreneur, although I don't know if I love that title. I own a variety of businesses, and really my passion lies in and around marketing. And where that all started for me was back in high school. So I get this question like, how did you find a passion for marketing? Well, small town kid from Appleton, Wisconsin. I needed an elective my senior year. And of course, typical 18, 17-year-old boys looking for some easy classes. And then they said, well, this marketing thing is, that sounds fun. I'm like, I don't even know what marketing is. What does that even mean? And they're like, well, you get to work in the class store. You get to join DECA. There's a sales competition. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in sales. Pretty outgoing kid at the time. And then you get to take this class trip to New York City. I'm like, whoa, okay, this sounds really fun. I don't know what that is, but sign me up. And so zooming out, I love DECA. I love the sales competition. I did fairly well back in the day. And then I said, well, college, yeah, okay, well, I guess let's study marketing. I like this idea. And I knew a little bit about advertising. So I went on to study that, worked in and around a family business for a few years. And then really everything I did since was around marketing. And I just remember when Facebook came out, and this is where I'm going to sound really old. Back in 2004, I was just kind of a graduating college student. And I'm like, this Facebook thing sounds pretty cool. And that was pretty early on in the internet marketing days where people were just getting good at Google Ads. I think maybe 2007, 2008, Facebook released Facebook business pages. And that's where internet digital marketing really became a thing, because in college it didn't exist. They didn't teach that. And that's why I feel like I'm really old at the moment saying that out loud. And so where marketing became really institutionalized for me, and I don't know why I like to say that, but I do, is when I started working for an agency about 7 years ago. And at that time, I was really becoming a real entrepreneur, starting my first real business. And I was really interested because I knew I could build a business off the back of Google and Facebook, the two biggest digital platforms where people are going to promote their business. And I was able to do that. And along the way, I was able to help my clients kind of with what worked and what didn't work. And I was able to test it on my own business, and my business was a guinea pig in a way, using that old reference. And so I got to a point where my business and my career got busier and busier, and people were asking me directly if they could just hire me. And I thought, yeah, maybe I should go out on my own. And so I did. And then that led to some other opportunities, and kind of fast forwarding now, I live and breathe the marketing world.
That's awesome. It's cool to see how life takes us on a journey, right? Because sometimes we're not sure. We're open to what happens, especially as a 17, 18-year-old kid. Like, what am I going to do? Well, this class sounds fun. And at that time, you're not thinking necessarily about the future or where this is going to lead you. But that one class took you to, okay, college, let's explore this. And then your eyes got opened up to, oh my gosh, look at all these different things happening in the world. Oh, Facebook's coming on. Well, this is interesting. Oh, now Facebook business pages a couple of years after it got launched. And just to see that really grow to now where internet marketing's commonplace, right? I would
Yeah.
say it's bigger than the paper hands-on or TV marketing or different things like that. Social media is where so much money gets poured into an effort, and so many our energy, our focus gets poured into social media and all of those different components, all those different platforms. It's easy to get sucked into. How do you not get sucked into the social media fold? I mean, as a business person, you're looking, okay, I'm looking for marketing. Like, you have to live and breathe it for your business. How do you not get sucked in for that and or your own personal life?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about how do you not leverage it as a business,
Mm.
I don't know how you don't leverage digital marketing as a medium for your business. What's interesting to me, though, I just had an opportunity to work with a really large business in the food industry, and they're not really big on digital or social, and their ownership group is a relatively older group in their 60s and 70s. And one of the things I've come to realize, and I think it was maybe Gary Vee who said this, but said basically the people who spend their ad dollars or marketing dollars based on how they choose to consume media. So if you have someone who's in their 70s, yeah, there's a good chance they're on Facebook and a few platforms. Maybe they understand the importance of internet marketing, but ultimately, if they still read the newspaper, watch the news every day, and they do those things that are more traditional, well, that's probably how they're going to spend their ad dollars because that's what they know best. And that's true of every category. So if you take people in my age group in their 40s, it is, well, we're going to stick with Facebook and Instagram because that's what we know. Thinking like, oh boy, TikTok, I'm not too sure about this. But I think what's really interesting about digital marketing is that for the most part, or when you do it organically, meaning you just post to your news feed, post to your page, it's free. So why wouldn't you want to use it? I'd also say this is, when you go the traditional route, and traditional for those of you that may be listening and don't understand that, it's billboards, radio, TV, newspaper, print. It is really hard to quantify the impact of your investment. So I know billboard companies will say X amount of people approximately drove by. Well, what happens if you throw some snow days in there? That number is totally skewed. Yes, that number can go up and go down, but how do you know if even your core demographic, your target market, sees that advertisement? And while I would argue, yes, it's a cost of doing business and they do have their place, there is some relevancy for all those things. Digital marketing, you can quantify exactly who sees that content, when they see it, how they see it, and the metrics that are available are just unbelievable. So there's almost no reason not to jump in. But I always say you got to be an early adapter. You don't want to be late to the party because by that point, a platform becomes almost irrelevant, and you're like, oh, I'm just getting on Facebook. Well, organic reach is kind of slowing there, and there are other platforms that are just as relevant, if not more relevant now.
Right. So be that early adapter, get in and at least experiment around it and try that out. And I agree, right? With digital media, you can quantify it, you can see the statistics, exactly who's looking at it, how many, where are they in the world potentially, and see all those statistics, so then you could spend your ad dollars more appropriately. So we're going to flip the conversation a bit. So what if you are the consumer here? We're not a business, well, we could be a business owner potentially, but we're the consumer here on social media. And we're like, oh my gosh, there's ads everywhere. All I see are ads, it seems, right? Whether it's an ad someone paid for or someone doing organic style posting and all that. How can we really make sure our mental bandwidth is not being drained by seeing all these ads, that we're still getting use out of social media that's filling us up? Do you have any strategies or ways we can do that?
Yeah, that's a great question and an interesting point. I I think you have to choose to see ads in the positive. So I've got a friend of mine who loves the fact that he gets all these relevant ads. So he has no problem giving these platforms information about who he is, because he says the more information I give Facebook about the things that I like, the more they're going to serve me relevant ads. Now, I can tell you, just based off of my personal experience, I'm okay with it. Granted, I don't want to see as many, but I'm okay because I get a lot of good ads where I've bought clothing, I've bought shoes, I bought accessories, I've bought a fair number of things. And it's up to me to choose whether or not I think that this is a quality business, meaning, have people gotten scammed before? Absolutely. Have bought maybe products that are not legitimate or ended up on a site that's not legitimate. But for the most part, I would say 95%, or if not more, are legitimate companies trying to serve their ads or products to you. And so I choose to see it as the positive, both as a consumer and as a business person. But I would say this too: if what you're seeing is too much, if social media ever becomes stressful, overbearing, too negative, whether that be the ads or the content you're seeing, I think you have to find another platform or another place where things aren't quite as negative. So, for example, my favorite platform is LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm active on all of them. I consume content on all of them. But one of the things I love about LinkedIn, even though there are ads, is there is so much more positivity and support. There's a lot less of the political narrative. There's a lot less of the news and current events, which, oh, by the way, even if it's good, there are still people going, well, this sucks because of that, and I don't like this guy. Well, on LinkedIn, I would venture to say 98% of the conversation, even if people are debating healthy debates, it's still moving the needle towards celebrations in careers, in families, and in lives. And so I don't get a lot of that like negative energy or energy zombies that want to drag you down, because it's just a place you can go and you can feel really good. And so I know no matter what platform it is, I'm going to find ads. I mean, even look at Amazon. Everybody loves Amazon. They get to go shopping. But now there's a lot of articles you can find on Google right now that people are upset that Amazon is becoming more and more pay to play, meaning if you sell your product on their platform and you're a bigger company, you can choose to boost that ad just like you would on a Facebook post and get that in front of more people. So it shows up in that search 5 or 6 times versus the competitor shows up once and it's vanished. So that's just a nature of the game. And again, I love it from a marketing standpoint. From a consumer standpoint, I know it creeps a lot of people out, but it can, if you give the platform information about things that you like, things you're interested in, it can serve you more relevant content. So there, Spencer, there's pros and cons to everything. And I think one thing you probably, we're both very aligned on the mental side of things, is you just have to choose to see the positive. And when it's not there, you have to leave. And that may be one of the reasons why I'm using Facebook a little less and less as a human, as a person. And I'm finding spaces where there's just so much more joy and opportunity and bliss.
I 100% agree that we need to look for the positives, right? I personally believe there's positives everywhere and in everything. You just got to search for it. Some are bigger and brighter than others, but there's positives out there. So let's look for the positive in the ads. And I love the idea of, well, personally, like, okay, they're curating their ads to me because, well, their goal as a company is to keep me on that platform as long as possible. So they're not going to want to show me ads that don't resonate with me, that don't align, right, because that's going to kick me or make me want to leave that platform faster. They want to keep me there. So now I'm getting ads and visuals and different ideas of things that I had no idea that existed, most likely, but I'm like, oh, that's really cool, that's interesting, and it gets me thinking about those things, or looking that up, or buying from that company, or at least adding new things to my life that could potentially enrich me. Now, obviously, there's ads that don't align, right, but it's a process. Now, the same thing with, if a platform's not serving you, or if you're finding more negativity, I agree. You can leave and find a different platform. The other option I would say, and I've done this a lot, I hear people complain, especially for Facebook or Instagram, right? It's all negative. It's so much negativity here all the time. Well, again, they curate the feeds you see based on what you are focused on, whatever you give your energy to. If you're
Correct.
focused on the news, the politics, the anger, the hatred, the stress, the gossip, it's going to show you more and more and more of that because it thinks you want to see that. So
Correct.
instead, curate your feed, surround yourself with the people who are pouring into you, the positive people. So now I've turned my whole feed around so I don't have that negativity. Sure, I might get, a political post here or there or some negativity, but generally 90% of the time it's all positive because I was really intentional about who I allow on my feed and who I don't. And then
Love
the
it.
Facebook, Instagram, the other platforms, they recognize that. And so they'll pour into us the people I want to see, and they want to keep me on that platform, right? So it's all how we use it to best serve us.
Yeah, you're right. Every action you take goes into a personal algorithm. So what you see and what I see, even if our profiles were the exact same with pages we like and activities, we're likely to see slightly different things because if you engage with certain people and I engage with different people, we're going to be served different ads. And so if that's for example, I get a lot of ads from Fanatics for Packers gear and Bucks gear because I love watching my sports teams. And if I happen to buy a hat or a shirt or something from one of those outlets, I'm going to see a lot more Fanatics ads. Now, if something else comes up for, let's say, Wisconsin Badgers, and I don't click on that 5 or 6 times, I'm not likely to get that again. But if, oh, by the way, you click on, because they'll start showing you things that are suggested for you. And if you click on that, it will be all of a sudden more of that. So it's just interesting. Everything you watch, everybody you engage with, that content is served up to you differently, every couple of weeks. And so I like that personally, but again, the actions you take take a big part in the content that you're served.
Right. 100%. And it could be draining, right? If you think about all the stuff we're doing, it could be a drain on our mental state of, okay, how much energy are we pouring into all this stuff? People get obsessed. I know I've been addicted to social media to a degree. I need to remove that. And it's draining. It's energy vampires, I like to call them, that are draining us. And hence why I try curating feeds so people are pouring into me, but I still need to take that break. Same thing with building our businesses, right? You building 4 or 5 different businesses now that, okay, you can get drained by going go, this hustle culture, this constant go. And you actually have written a book about it, right? The King of the Mental Swing, about our mental state and how we can really stay alive and reprieved and fresh, feeling good. Talk to us about that. How can we talk to us about your book and how we can really be at our best mentally through these swings?
Yeah, I think that most people kind of go through life renting space in their mental domain. And meaning maybe they don't fully believe in themselves. They're uncertain about what they want to do, even as adults. And we joke often. We're like, yeah, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up either. That's okay. We joke about that. But ultimately, what the book was about is a bit of a take on golf meets a take on life. And so it's how to win at golf and life by thinking differently. And I'm not the world's foremost golf expert, but I wanted to write a book and I wanted it to be different from anything on the market, whether it was golf or business related. And as you can imagine, by now there are millions upon millions of books, tens of millions of books. And a lot of them are probably really good. So I said, a book on quotes, that's been done, instructional books, that's been done, how-to books, that's been done. So I kind of had this theory all through life that success at anything is a recipe. And I use this example a lot, if you go around the world, and I mentioned this in my presentation you were at, and you ask any country of the world, how do you make a pot of chili? You're going to get a million different answers. Spicy, not spicy, beans, no beans, vegan, ground beef, turkey, noodles, no noodles. I mean, the list goes on and on. And there really is no right or wrong answer. Just like there's a million different ways to swing a golf club or run a business or make a pot of chili, it is you have to find the ingredients, based on what you want. What do you want to achieve? Well, I want a spicy, meaty pot of chili. Well, then here's the ingredients you need to create that successfully. So not only do you need the ingredients, you need the utensils, you need to follow the process. And if you do so, you are going to have a really good outcome. But if you omit one of the ingredients or multiple, or you skip a step, I don't care if you have all the ingredients. If you skip a step, it's not going to work. Just like you can't read a book without reading the middle chapters or skipping any chapter. So what a lot of it comes down to is let's read the book, or let's go through and talk about what is success at podcasting, because you and I both do that. What is the recipe for success in marketing? And so I'll lay out all the ingredients and I'll say, okay, this is what you want to achieve. These are your goals. And let's put the pieces of the puzzle together, or the ingredients to the recipe together. Let's follow the process. And if you do that, you're going to find success. So that's a big part of what I teach my clients in marketing and in business is ultimately, I think you're going to have a really good outlook on life like you and I do. We're positive, we're optimistic, we see the good everywhere because I believe it's everywhere. But that's because when it comes down to it, I have a vision. I know what I want to achieve this year. Doesn't mean I'm going to achieve it, but I have a vision. I have some goals in mind and I have clarity. But I feel motivated because I know what I need to do. I have a notebook where I track all the tasks I need to get done. And I stopped picking the low-hanging fruit years ago. And I'd sit down at my desk and I try to knock out one or two big things every morning so that by the end of the day, I could feel accomplished. Even if I had a lot of shit left to do, I still said, hey, you know what? I'm making progress toward that goal. I'm getting there. And there's a lot you can do. But I think the first step for a lot of people is, what is my recipe? What are the ingredients I need, or the tools I need, which are your utensils? And let's put that together first. Because I've talked to some people. I've got a client who's makes $500,000 and is very successful, but he and a couple others, they just don't have a vision. And they'll say, well, I want more of X. I want more of Y. I'm like, okay, but you couldn't give me a set number. But still, how did you get to that? I want more listeners. I want more buyers. That's not a goal. I mean, that's barely an objective. And that doesn't help me understand what your vision is. So I think you have to get really clear. And that's a big part of what my book is about, is let's get really clear. And I'll take it back to this to kind of wrap up my long-winded answer here is, I think that ultimately you really, really need to distill it down to something simple, because as entrepreneurs, we are generally very creative people. We've got a lot of different ideas that run through our mind. We're, shiny object syndrome. We go off in this tangent, go off in that tangent. But if you can make it easy, you will get stuff done. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to build a strategy or build a plan, don't give me a 20-page plan. Remove all the fluff and distill it down to 1 or 2 pages in document style format, not in your head, in a document. And I think what's going to happen is, if you can use that as your North Star, you will be able to sit down every day and say, okay, this is not burdensome. This is not overpowering. This is very simple and just one step at a time. And that to me is it. We need to make things easier, because we as entrepreneurs tend to make things too difficult and too challenging. So make things easy and get a plan. That's just the first 2 things I would say to you. Make it easy and get a plan.
Hey, sorry to butt in like this, but I have something really cool I want to share with you. Something that I know it can help you live your life to the max. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a roadmap that gets you to your destination. What do roadmaps do, right? Well, you have your destination. It shows you how to get there, the best way to get to that point. And you know what? That's what I have. What is this roadmap I'm talking about? I'm talking about my book, Chase Your Passion. That's right, you have a passion, you have a destination, you have goals, dreams you want to achieve. But maybe you're confused on how to get there. Maybe you're feeling stuck. Well, my book, Chase Your Passions, is that roadmap. It guides you through how to create that plan, how to create that roadmap, how to get over hurdles so you can have success. So if you're ready to ditch the excuses, if you're ready to get unstuck and ready to have success, to taste success and feel amazing, to achieve your goals and dreams, get your copy of Chase Your Passions. It's available on Amazon, or just head to my website, spencermjones.com. All right, let's catch y'all later, and let's keep chasing our passions. Let's go.
Get a plan.
I love those tips. It brings back the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple. However you like to end that one, right? So you're keeping it as simple as possible with the plan. And I love that idea of, okay, you have vision, you have your goals, you have clarity on it. And you're right, as entrepreneurs, we like to make things more complicated than they need to be. And I know I have coaches and masterminds and friends who have helped me clear that air and clarify that, and help force me to clarify that. So it gets rid of all the clutter. And now we have clarity on where we're going, what we're doing, what are the goals specifically. And we can keep it in our head. We can keep that in our head, and we think we know it, right? Oh, I want more listeners. I want more buyers. I want more of these different things. Even if you could make it a SMART goal, awesome in your head, but it's still not it until, for me at least, until you write it down. You could actually physically write it down, or on your computer, type it out, whatever that is. But then you have clarity. You have to make it into sentences. That's also about, oh, this is how I would describe this. Oh, this is what my vision is. Oh, well, okay, how do I put it out of my head? There's so many times I'm like, oh, I have this in my head. And then I go to write it and I'm going, oh, I wasn't as clear as I thought I was on that all of a sudden, right? And just by going through that process, I got more clarity and focused on, oh, this is where I'd like to go. One thing I noticed with our energizers is some of them struggle with finding a vision. They're just like, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want to do. Like, oh, this would be cool. How do you help people find their vision, or at least start to dream, to go, oh, this would be cool to have. I would like to have that in their life.
I love that you asked me this. This is a fantastic question, really. I was asked a very similar question on a podcast about a week ago, and I think we have to start with the things we're passionate about. So if maybe you're an early stage entrepreneur, or maybe you're just really bored with what's happening in your life or your business, and you're thinking about going in a new direction, I want you to do a couple things. Let's start by writing down the things we're most passionate about in life. And I will tell you, so I listen to a couple different podcasts. I've tried a ton. And the podcasts to me that are the best are the ones where the people are the most passionate, but also you can tell that when you listen to them, their goal is to help you. They want to add the most value because they know if they're helping their listeners, you're going to stay around, and they know you're likely going to buy their book, their class, their products, or maybe their listeners, or not their listeners, but their guest stuff. And so I become really interested in someone if I can sense their passion, because if I know how passionate they are, I know they'll care. And so that's one thing. So write down a list. And if you're like, Chris, well, I got 5 things I'm passionate about. It's music, it's marketing, it's inspiration, it's this and that. Okay, well, let's narrow it down. What are the top 3 things you're most passionate about? So we got our 3 now. I want you to say, okay, of the 3, which ones do I know the most about? Or I could position myself as a bit of a subject matter expert. And you might say, well, Chris, I'm really not an expert at any of them. That's okay. You don't have to be, but take the one where you feel like I'm most confident about the subject in X. And then you become a subject matter expert. But maybe you're at a point where there's 2. You're like, I'm equally as knowledgeable and passionate about these 2. If they don't go together, that's okay, because if they do, that's certainly a help. But then ask yourself, which one has the greatest opportunity for scalability or monetization? So if one of them is like, hey, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about X, but there is 0 opportunity to monetize this as a book, as a podcast, as a product, then you need to throw that out. And now you're left with this one thing. But you could even take it one step further back. And as my wife always tells me to do this, she's like, make a pros and cons list. And this is something you'd probably do too if you're in between careers and you're looking at a new job opportunity, maybe you got a couple offers on the table. Whatever one has the longest list of pros is probably the one you should focus on the most. Not saying it's the right answer, but that's another way to look at this. And so to get that vision, again, you're down to 1 or 2 options. I want you to do some things. What kind of products and services can I launch? Could you potentially or eventually write a book? Could you write a free ebook that would be a free digital download to help you gain email addresses and build your funnel? Could you launch a podcast around this? Do you know people in your network, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, who could potentially be a guest on your show? Are you able to write about this subject? Blog posts, newsletter, maybe a newsletter on LinkedIn. And the list kind of goes on, and you'll be able to just see, based on these 2 or 3 options you're weighing, which one is just going to speak out and stand out to you, because that's the option you want to go. And it comes down to this for me personally. It is, which one of these am I most excited about, which could be passion too, and then which one gives me the opportunity to scale, to really make money, because that's not the end all be all. But for me, I've got a lot of different things going in my life. You could argue too many. And so I've kind of got a bit of a vision where I say, okay, I'm not going to take on another business unless it is at least, minimum 6 figures. Otherwise, it's just going to be a distraction. And so the last question I would have you ask yourself is this, especially if you've got kids and you're a family person like me, is, do I have 3 or 4 hours a week to work on this? So I might have that, but if this is something that's going to require 10 hours a week, and maybe potentially quitting your day job, or maybe it overlaps into, your family life with your kids' events or your wife's schedule, it's not worth doing. It's not plausible. And so again, there's a couple of really important questions you have to ask yourself. But for me, that's the last thing I'll tell you on this subject is, wait it out. I've had several ideas over the years that when they first came to mind, I had rushed back and I'd create a business plan. So my wife always tells me, she's like, you're to do something, you got to have a business plan and financial projections. So if 2 or 3 months go by and you're like, you know what, I don't really love it, that definitely means it's not something you should do. And I'll tell you, every idea starts out like that. Day 1, day 2, I have to do it, and I got to do it right now. This is the best idea I ever had. And then you start building your business plan and you start looking at financials and you're like, oh, someone else already did this. This already exists. Maybe it's not a good idea. That's okay. So what I'm saying is, wait it out and do your due diligence, because you might find that time wins, meaning you realize you're not that passionate about it. And so never rush into something without doing your due diligence. I've seen people do that and fail. And if you do the due diligence and you did all the things I talked about and you're still passionate, that probably means you're onto something special.
I love it. And I don't think I could have given a better answer, especially with the beginning, because that's what I tell people too, when they're trying to create their vision, is, what are you passionate about? Like, what's the big thing that you love to do, whatever that is, and then start to see what you can do with that, whether it's for business or you're retired and you're like, now what do I do? All right. Well, if you could make a business out of it, great, if that's something you choose to do. Or what hobbies do you love to do? Because some people just like, well, I gave everything in my career, I don't know what to do now. Well, what are you passionate about, or what did you enjoy doing as a kid, and how can you bring that forward? And then experiment, start to see, does it fit, does it not fit, right? Giving it that time to, you're creating your business plan, you're testing the waters, as it were, to see, is this going to be viable? Is this something I want to do long term? If it's not, cool, but if it is, awesome, then you're onto something special. And one of the biggest things that you said is your priorities. You need to know what's important to you, right? If your family's important, if your community, if other jobs, like, what are your priorities? And try not to let outside forces, whatever you think society is telling you to do, to determine your priorities. You determine them for you and for yourself, because they can be totally different than everybody else, and that's okay if they work for you. But what are your priorities? So then you're like, okay, well, do I have 2 or 3 hours to spend on this, building this business? Or, nah, I really want to be there for my wife or my kids, and now this cuts into their time. Am I okay with that? Am I not okay with that? No answer is the right or wrong answer unless it goes with or against your priorities, right? You have to see how that fits with your priorities. So that's the big thing. So I love it. What's your passion about, your priorities, and then give it time. You're testing the waters.
Yeah. If you do that, your vision will almost automatically be defined for you. Like, your vision, it'll come to you. And that is where I think it's really important to get it down in a document, even if it's a Word doc or a Google doc, and then start to just keep track of that. You have a little sticky note on your monitor or on your wall. And the more you see those things, just like the more you see your goals, the more every day you're just reminded and you're encouraged and motivated to get to that. And that to me is when a vision and a goal becomes very powerful.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And yeah, I've got probably too many post-it notes, to be honest. I need
Likewise.
to start getting distracted, but it's a beautiful thing. Chris, this has been absolutely amazing. Two last questions here before as we wrap it up. One is, if you could offer any piece of advice, one piece of advice to help the Energizers live their life to the max, what would that be?
That's tough. I guess a couple things. One, as it relates to marketing, I would say that everybody should have a personal brand. They should create their own personal brand. And whether you like it or not, you already have one. Your personal brand, if we extrapolate this from the marketing discussion for a moment, your personal brand is how you show up when you walk outside, when you go to work. So your personal brand is made up of a lot of things, including how you greet people. When you walk into the office, do you say hi before they say hi to you? Do you have a smile on your face? What does your body language look like? How do you, when you respond to an email, is the first thing you do is jump right into business? Like, hey, I hope you had a great weekend. I hope this message finds you well. Hope you had fun at that Packer game or whatever, wherever you're listening from, whatever might be relevant. And then people make up an opinion about you, which we could say that those could be negative, but it's really more of an impression that you leave with someone based on the energy that you choose to bring in the door or on the phone or whatever it is that you're doing. And that is who you are. And so when it comes to the perception you want to create in the world, a personal brand is so important because a lot of people listening may never be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. So maybe you're looking at it from like, Chris, I love my job in finance or HR. I'm going to stick with that. Okay, awesome. But you can create a personal brand online by doing all those same things. You can also show up differently on LinkedIn or Facebook by the way that you choose to style or optimize your profile. So it could be a profile picture, a banner that tells people what you do. And instead of saying, let's take me, for example, Chris Burns, digital marketing consultant, author, blah, blah, blah. That's boring. I hate to tell you, but Spencer, you're like, oh, well, literally there are millions of people that do what I do, Spencer. So I recently changed my LinkedIn profile to say, and I could just tell you here, because I wanted it to be really interesting, and I've probably changed it 7 or 8 times just this year. It says, Chris Burns, digital dreamweaver. I make social media so easy, it's fun again. Book time with me and let's unleash your digital marketing potential. Nice. And so again, I wanted to leave an impression that I'm not just someone who helps people with social media or digital. Granted, there's not a whole lot more I can say because I ran out of real estate in my title, but you can scroll down and you can see what I do, what I stand for, why I'm different. And so that's how I choose to show up is I want to be different. And I'll say this is, when I talk about this stuff with personal branding on the marketing side, particularly on social media platforms, don't try to position yourself as better, because if you're the same as everybody, you're average, and average isn't great if you're trying to get hired or get a career advancement. If you're positioning yourself as better, I would say, yeah, well, I hope so. I mean, we all are supposed to be better than the next person. So that's kind of boring, but it's also like, okay, better is just good to me. And if you want to be like everybody, that's average. So then you're slightly above average. If you want to be the best, you have to be different. Different is best. So like I said, you want to go find a marketing consultant, there are millions of them out there. And people will always say, Chris, why would you say that? Like, you're not helping your case. And I said, well, try and then see who stands out. And I hope, I'm not saying I do, but hope that I stand out based by the personal brand that I'm trying to build online. And one of the things that you can do for yourself is you need a vision. So my vision is I genuinely want to help businesses. And I feel like the more of that I do, the more business they will in turn refer to me. And so I'm not out there trying to make X number of dollars, but I know I'll get to that goal eventually if I can continue to bring my best self to my clients and my work every day. So I've got a bit of a vision. I've got my goals, and I have that elevator pitch that I just basically said, which is if people see you in the elevator and they've never met you before, what is the personal brand you're leaving with them? And then what is that message that sticks in their mind? And it is, hey, I'm Chris Burns. I'm a digital marketing consultant, and my goal is to make digital marketing, especially, can't speak today, social media, so easy, it's fun again. And oh, by the way, it's going to be a lot of fun when we're generating results. How do you do that, Chris? Well, I do that by making marketing more easy. People make it more difficult than it has to be. So I help people simplify, starting with a strategy and then implementation. And I leave it at that. And people say, oh, wow. And I'll tell you what, Spencer, I have not been doing this for very long, but it is mind blowing how many people start asking questions because I stop, I let it sit, and then people are naturally very curious. So again, how are you different either in your current career or as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an author, a podcast host? Write that down. And then when people ask you, you're like, yeah, I'm a podcast host about digital marketing. Well, that sounds boring. So think about that future. And then that just automatically gives you this very clear vision about this is who I am and this is what I'd like to achieve this year. And again, it doesn't have to be, nor should it be complicated. Simple is best.
Again, we overcomplicate it, right? We overcomplicate what we're trying to share or do so much, and we get in our own way when we just simplify it and let it be fun, exciting, and different. That's only going to help us out, especially with our personal branding. How can people connect with you? They're like, holy crap, Chris, this is amazing. I want to know more about how you can help make social media easy for me and fun when we're generating results, and just how can they connect with you and all the great stuff you're doing?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I'm all over the place. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you're on that platform, hopefully connect with me. If you're not, get on LinkedIn. I'm on every other platform, but I've got a few other places where you can find me. I have my marketing website business, which is Lux Level Media or luxlevelmedia.com. I have a personal website, which is iamchrisburns.com, where I'll be releasing some free digital products people want to download and learn more about what I do. And then on that website, I also have a calendar where if you're interested in booking some time with me, I actually have a free 15-minute personal brand audit. So whether you want my feedback or opinion on what your company's doing or what you're doing online, and maybe just want to pick my brain, you can go on there on my Calendly link and book some time with me. And my book, King of the Mental Swing, is on Amazon as an ebook or paperback. So anybody who wants to reach out, I'm an open book. I'd love to chat and connect.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. And folks, if you missed the links for that, or you can't remember, right, you're driving, just go to spencermjones.com/jonesinforshow, and you'll get the show notes with all the links and all that good stuff. So you can go check out Chris, connect with him. Strongly suggest you do that. And if you can, do that 15-minute audit and tap into his wisdom. Chris, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and wisdom, your love and energy. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Energizers, keep going. Shine your light. You have this beautiful personal brand. So go share it. Go shine it with the world, because you are amazing. You are worthy. And you are enough. So until next time, we will catch you later.